Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Did You Know Business. Today we are here with another amazing episode. We'll be talking about social impact, or rather, aligning social impact with businesses. And joining me for this conversation is none other than Abdulmumin, Abdulkarim. But before we kickstart this beautiful conversation, stay tuned and we'll be right back. All right, so my question for you today, is very important because a lot of young people run business, even the older generation run business. But when it comes to a social happening in the society, a lot of people feel, hey, I need to align with this. So many things have been happening from the NSAS to what is happening in another part of the country today. So some business feel, should I align with this or no, I shouldn't align with this? Okay, I think I should say something on this issue. And for the younger generation, some of us end up saying things that are even creating more problems.
Yeah.
In this situation, as a business owner, what do you do? How do you align it?
All right, that's a very interesting question. I think answering these questions actually has to do with defining a couple of things.
Right.
Right. So when we say an individual or a business, those are two separate entities.
Sure.
And when we also say social issues, right, we also need to define that. But I think from our own perspective, I would talk from the perspective of a company, our company, not I as an individual, because cumulatively, everybody that works in the company makes the company and sets the value of the company and who the company is at the end of the day. So I'll talk about our company and what we stand for. We are a small company, we're an advisory company, and we basically tend to specific customers, right? And just like any other company in the country, there are several challenges going on in the country, and we also have to ask ourselves, how do we respond to certain things, and how do we comment on certain issues? So there are different ways, and there are different issues, and usually, as a company, we will meet first and talk amongst ourselves, and agree on certain things going on in the country, and how, as a company, we should either participate directly or participate indirectly. Sometimes direct participation is what most people expect you to do, which is write something, come out there, publish it through any of the available channels, social media channels, news, writing something in the papers, and so that's all direct participation. Well, indirect participation on a subject matter that has a social impact is actually when we talk to friends, we talk to mentors, we talk to people in society, and we get them to influence other people about a certain subject matter or how we feel about something. So that's a different way of talking about a certain subject that has a major impact. I mean, I would say a political view is a form of a social impact too. It's not all the time you actually come out there and say something publicly, right? But there are times when we actually meet with focus groups, people that we share values together, and we open up on a topic and we discuss a topic, right? And we try to lean on people to think in a certain direction, because nothing is really by force, you understand? So this is how we do get messages out there, and not just only on things that are social, but things that are also economical, things that are advisory in nature, things that are very strong, we talk to people in both using direct and indirect channels.
A lot of people, like you spoke about something very important about direct and indirect messaging. Sometimes you don't need to go out there to post everything and everything. But a lot of people feel if they don't post, then other people will have a negative thinking towards them that, oh, you guys aren't even supporting what we're doing. You guys are silent. You guys are supporting oppression and everything. And me as a human being, my heart is fickle. I begin to feel, hey, people are feeling that I'm a terrible person. I just need to say this. And by me saying that, I lose the sincerity of purpose of why I'm doing that.
Yes.
How do I draw a balance in this situation?
Drawing that balance is the most important thing, right? When there's a lot of pressure coming from outside, from people expecting you to say something, you have to find a way to strike a balance there, right? If people actually, if you wanted to do everything people wanted you to say, you'll be very, very unpopular on many things. You're very, very unpopular on many things. And at the same time, you might not even be right on what you're talking about on that same subject matter, right? So I will say it's really about drawing a balance, right? Hear what people have to say, right? Then look inwards. Look inwards to yourself and look inwards into the value of your company. Don't forget the word company means a gathering of people with same values um, to create an output for society. Yeah, that's why it's called company. It's a company of people. Our company, right? It means that I'm bringing people together where we share values. Now, when people say something about your company or your company should say something, you need to really take what people want you to talk about, discuss it internally as a company, and then try to identify the best way to actually channel your feedback on that subject matter out. Is it going to be direct? Is it going to be indirect? You have to think about your company first and also about yourself before you pass messages out there. Never be under pressure to put a message out there as soon as people think you need to say something. You need to absorb it, you need to think about it, you need to consult on it widely, and make sure that when getting that message out there is balanced. You can answer things from both sides. You can be objective. You can look at things from both sides. Never make any assumption that whatever you're saying first or whatever people are telling you first is the right thing or what actually happened. Do some investigation yourself, take your time, and then get the right message out through direct or indirect means.
Amazing. When you say do some investigation, I just remembered what Allah says in the Quran. If an information is brought to you, you got to verify first so that you will not make a mistake of misjudging people.
That's correct.
Now, you spoke about the fact that we need to look at our company values first and ourselves before we comment on social issue.
That's right.
Will you say that our company value and ourselves comes first before the social issue? So we need to consider these two first before we now say, fine, okay, people are being dealt with in such a way, in this way. Okay, does my company has any business with it? Of course, I think every human is concerned about the loss of lives and everything and the likes of it.
Yeah.
So in this situation, how do you not run and go and say, hey, you people are killing people, stop killing people, and as well as knowing that you have a company value and you have to look out for your company and yourself as well. I think there's a bit of an overlap in there.
That's right. And it's a very challenging thing. And this happens globally. You have situations where some of the most influential people in the world, take Elon Musk, for example.
Right.
There's Elon Musk, the man, and then there's his companies, Tesla, SpaceX, and co. The company. What Elon Musk says might affect the valuation of Tesla and the other companies. I think on one of the last tweets he made, the company lost $50 billion overnight.
Wow.
So you have to try and strike a balance between you, the person, and the company. And usually, companies and the person or the people that make up the company share the same values. But when people sometimes, without consulting everybody else in the company, go out there to make rush judgments on a subject matter and put it out there directly through direct means like Twitters, social media channels, it has an impact, right?
True.
And if that impact is negative, a company might not exist anymore. Then you're now back to the individual.
Amazing.
So there's everything is about striking a balance and never rush to judgment. Never. Always take things from all sides, absorb it, take some time, consult widely, do some research before you respond. And as I said earlier, sometimes an indirect response is better than a direct one. It has more impact, right? And people do not tag you to say, this person stands for this. People would know you as being objective, and that you always talk from both sides, especially when it comes to issues where there's wide demographic difference in people and their opinions. Some people will always be zero, some people will always be one, no matter what happens. So this world is binary.
Yeah, speaking about values again, you're a financial expert and you advise people on finance and their companies and the likes of it. What do you think are the uncompromisable fundamental value that a company needs to have? Every company, what do you think? Do you have like up of your head things that you think that people should have in their company, like it's a compelling necessity for them?
Yes, I think I'll take my company as an example. Sorry, not my company, our company as an example.
You need to call it, what's the name of your company so that we know?
The company name is Mercantile Consulting Services.
Right.
So let me take our company as an example. In terms of financial advisory work, there are some fundamental things that you must have in place.
Mm-hmm.
One is that you need experience, a lot of experience. You also need to be able to consult wildly, which means that you must have an array of advisors, external to your company sometimes, who you can reach out to on a subject matter you've not dealt with in a while. At the same time, as a company, you must have people that conduct research constantly. That's continuous learning, continuous development. If you feel as a company that I had my BSc 15 years ago and I'm relying on the knowledge from 15 years ago, you're lost as a company, right? So continuous research and development is extremely important, and benchmarking yourself against global companies is equally important. Never think local. Think that one day your company might be called upon by a global company to do something for them, and you must be able to meet them at that level. Then I think finally is the issue of using tools. We rarely use tools. I'll give an example of a tool. As a finance person, if you do not have a fundamental understanding of how to use a tool like Microsoft Excel effectively, you can never really be a good financial advisor. So an Excel is like a hoe or a tractor a farmer uses. No matter how dedicated a farmer is to farming, if he does not know how to use a hoe, a cutlass, or a tractor effectively, he will not be an effective provider of agricultural outputs or food to feed his family.
Right.
So I think for finance, financial advisory, knowledge, experience, and using the right tools. And of course, people, good people, people that share value. Surrounding all of that makes the right mix of things
Amazing.
to get things going.
All my years of interacting with so many people, I got to understand that it's very good to have people that believe in what you believe in to work with.
Yes.
It makes your work way more easier. I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you totally.
Absolutely.
If it's a value issue, so if your team that make up your company,
Yeah.
or external partners that work with your company don't have shared values, it will be very hard for you to create new value somebody else will pay for. Companies exist to create products that other people that don't have time to create it would buy or pay for it. That's why companies exist. Companies do not exist fundamentally for other things. They exist for those reasons. If you're unable to create something that other people are willing to pay for, you're not an effective company. You're just a company that is burning down shareholders' funds until you run out of that money, because you don't have a value to put out there that people want to buy. So it's very important for you to have people that share those values with you, right? And also there's a pain period. There's no company that has all the money day one. So as a company that is starting up, there's a pain period. It's a long period, depending on the country you are.
Like
right?
a literal pain.
Yes, pain, real pain, which means sometimes money doesn't come in, the cash flow doesn't happen as expected. Your product is never the best. Don't think you're always the best at a certain product. There's always someone doing something extra, and you have to keep developing and improving on a yearly basis or on a quarterly basis. Not normally use yearly, so that you get to a point where the pain starts to reduce, and then the company is on cruise. And sometimes being on cruise for too long is equally dangerous. It means you're getting comfortable. Somebody else out there is making a better product, who will then throw you from cruise position back to stress position. So you have to always think about things like this.
This is really amazing. Abdulkarim, we're just going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Thank you very much.
All right, viewers, stay tuned and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Alhamdulillah, we've been discussing with, I can't call his name, you know why. Welcome back, Abdulkarim.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We've been talking about aligning social impact with business and likes of it, and you've spoken a lot, so much. A lot of your upcoming businesses today want to open a foundation immediately, the startup. They feel, I need to help the community, I need to do this, I need to do this. So a business that's like 5 years, you find out, okay, we're opening a foundation for this company just to help with social issues and likes of it. Do you think this is the right step?
It's, I think there are two questions there. There's the issue of trying to set up a foundation almost immediately you open up a company. My take on that is that whatever it is that you want to do for society should be impactful, right? So it's either we exist as a company to produce value or create value that has an impact on the local economy,
Right.
right, by creating jobs, right? Or we create value or products that don't create jobs, but we make a lot of money from that, and then we now want to channel the money back to society. So it's something that you have to look at it in a holistic manner like that. Who are we as a company, and
Right.
how do our products and services actually impact society as a whole? So if you take I don't want to use the word, but if you take people in the hydrocarbon industry, right? The hydrocarbon industry now is becoming more and more automated to an extent, so they require fewer people to handle their operations. But they will make a lot of money from their operations, so they always have sufficient funds to set aside to then do something regarding society or the environment, you know, and this is what these people focus on. So there are different companies and different things that they do, but just to come back to the question that you asked me, if you want to create a foundation, most foundations do exactly the same thing. Most foundations have the same product, which is aggregating monies or resources from something, right?
Right.
Designing a program that resource will be used for, distributing those resources to achieve the objectives of the program, and then monitoring it to make sure that it has the right impact. So why does every company want to do exactly the same thing when every company can actually say, look, just like Zakat and Co, on a yearly basis, we identify with an existing foundation that has a track record, has very experienced people, has a way that we can evaluate their impacts from the previous year, and then we give our resources to them to help with a course or a program which that organization or that foundation is currently pursuing. We don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. Every time we reinvent the wheel, you're actually wasting resources. You understand? There are people, there are organizations that have been out there. Some are faith-based, some are not faith-based. You try to identify the ones that you think has had the most impact, and you make your resources available to them so that they can do something to assist society. You understand? Unfortunately, the way the world is growing now, or since the pandemic, it's even become worse now. There's more automation in processes. People are actually required less for work. People are required less to run governments. And more people will be left behind over the next 5 to 10 years. A lot of people will be left behind. So we have to find a way to make sure that as companies make more money, because they are now becoming more streamlined, that such companies are able to also help society by channeling something through established foundations and entities.
Amazing. You know, as a financial expert, what advice do you have for people who are starting their business now or already run their business, young business basically?
It's a very tough question and quite controversial. I think you have to have the right value proposition. I think people should research that, what a value proposition means. Never get too eager just to put in money into a business because you want to be busy. Always identify the right value proposition, which is what I'm about to produce as an individual or as a company. Is it required by society and the market? If your value proposition is wrong, then you would only spend your shareholders' capital till it gets to zero. Then you would blame something else for it, like the economy is not good, the dollar rate is high, there's insecurity, right? The issue is that get the right value proposition, test the value proposition, grow that value proposition in an organic way. Do not be in a rush. Do not over expand. Test it, and if it works, build on top of it. And do not sit on one single value proposition. Create 3 value propositions and run them in parallel, right? And try as much as possible not to over dissipate energy, because there might be situations where those value propositions will come to zero, and you need to pick yourself up immediately and start a new value proposition.
Amazing.
So that would be my advice for young people.
Thank you so much, Abdulkarim. This has been an insightful conversation. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Now you know, and did you know?
Yes, now I know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jazakallah khairan.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, viewers, alhamdulillah, we've come to the end of this episode. This is Did You Know Business, brought to you by Did You Know in collaboration with Biled Realty. Until the next episode, I'll leave you all in the care of the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum.